And now we're officially starting. All right, welcome, friends. I'm so excited that you are here and taking time for yourself and investing in you. That just is so admirable. And I know that it's hard to do in our days. It's hard to carve out time. And I'm so proud of you for doing that. So, our goals for our time together tonight is to get just kind of an overview of what the process of becoming confident looks like, because it can be really overwhelming when you don't really know where to start. It's like, I want more confidence in my life, but I don't know where to start. So that's what tonight is designed to give you, is kind of a roadmap almost to what I've seen to be a process that works 9 times out of 10. I have been working with women for a decade, and this process just keeps coming up over and over again. And so I'm excited to share it with you. You're also going to get action steps at the end of each stage. Spoiler alert, there are 5. So ways that you can get those are you can do a screenshot. And if you don't want to do a screenshot, just let me know and I will send you each action step in an email. We're also looking for you to benefit from this process most efficiently. So that's why we're doing it live, because I can explain things and answer questions and make it more efficient, rather than just giving you this handout of this whole class and just saying, well, you'll figure it out. It's so much easier when you have somebody explaining and giving examples, and that makes it much more efficient. And I also have some goodies for you at the end, and we're going to do a Q&A. So this is where you can ask me any question that you want to, and I'll answer it. It'll be fun. So since your time is so valuable, I want us to be able to make the most of it together. So I have just a few suggestions that I kind of pulled from my own experience with webinars. So putting your phone away. So mine's charging right here, but I can't really use it because it's plugged in. But I recommend just pushing that away. Sometimes when we have uncomfortable or more challenging conversations, it's easy to seek out distraction, because that's what we do, right? Nobody likes to be uncomfortable. Not saying that you're going to be, but if you are, it's easy to look for ways to distract yourself. So phones away if you can. Have something to drink. That way you're not having to go get something like I did. So if you have something to drink, perfect. Also a notebook and a pen so that you can take notes on things. Even better if you print out the Becoming Captivatingly guide. You can take notes right along inside if you have that. An extra pen. So that way, again, you're not like, oh crap, my pen ran out, and you're digging around trying to find a pen. It's already there. I also like pens to chew on. Maybe that's just me. Headphones so that you can keep other household noises out. I know both of you have kids. A lot of you have kids, and it's hard to concentrate when you hear in the background what's going on. So headphones are helpful. And then closing any other browsers that you have, especially like Facebook or email. This is you time. Just making the most of it. So we're going to dive on in, and we're going to talk about confidence. So what is confidence? What in the world do we mean when we talk about confidence? The definition in Webster's is that confidence is a self-assurance that comes from your appreciation of your own abilities and qualities. And I find that when I ask most often, like, what do you think confidence is? It doesn't sound like that. I get all sorts of answers, like a light in a room, or feeling radiant, or being financially secure. We have very different ideas about what confidence means. So for us going forward, when we talk about confidence, we're going to be talking about it as basically that feeling that you get when you know who you are and what makes you awesome, and walking and showing up in that every day. So that's what we mean when we talk about confidence. And it's a practice, right? Just like anything else in life, you have to practice confidence. You can't just say, I'm confident, and maintain that, especially when you haven't done the work of building that up, because it takes time and it is a practice. What is it a practice of? Awareness, acceptance, appreciation, value in investing, and growth. And these are all the 5 stages that we're going to cover in depth tonight. So don't worry about writing these down because we're going to go over them. But this is basically the backbone of confidence. And it's grounded in awareness and acceptance of who you are, your story, your limitations, your amazingness, your personality type, your dreams, your hopes, and then working to appreciate those things, working to appreciate yourself, and really practicing self-appreciation. And when you start to do that, then you can move into valuing and investing in yourself. And then you just get to see the rewards of that. And that's when you get more confident in your abilities at work. That's when you get more comfortable in the skin that you're in. Like that's where that happens, is in the growth phase, not in the awareness phase. And most people try to make big life changes in the awareness phase. And that makes it so much harder for things to stick, especially in regards to weight loss and getting healthy. These are the top 2 things that I see all the time popping up, is changes that are trying to be made from that place of awareness. And that's why you keep having to depend on willpower and constant motivation and inspo. And you're like hungry for those things because it doesn't come from in here, because you haven't practiced awareness, acceptance, appreciation, value, and investing. So that's where we're headed tonight. So let's talk about you. What are some of your biggest obstacles to feeling confident? So I want you to take just a second and think about this in your brain. Maybe take a deep breath. I find that always helps. And ask yourself, what is my biggest obstacle to feeling confident? And if you're feeling brave and you want to share in the comments, I would love to know what some of your obstacles are. What gets in the way of you feeling that self-assuredness that comes from knowing who you are and how awesome you are? Usually the top 3 responses that I get are weight, struggling to like my body, and anxiety and depression. Yeah, that's how I count to 3. I'm not normal. I don't do this number. I actually can't get my finger like back far enough. I don't know. It's weird. Okay, we got an answer. Let's see. My insecurity of what others are thinking about me at that moment. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Projection, right? Where we project our own insecurities on other people. And we think, oh, they must be thinking this about me because I think this about me, right? Best example is like a swimsuit. When you're wearing a swimsuit and it's like, oh my gosh, everybody's looking at my cellulite. Everybody sees it. Everybody, oh, they're grossed out by it. I should go put shorts on or a sarong or towel. Yeah, that's a great one. I mean, it's not great that you have it, but it's a great example. Great example. And that kind of falls into like struggling to like my body too. So those are the issues that we think and the kind of obstacles that we perceive to be very external and based on other people or based on our physical self. But that's not really the deeper issue. So in counseling and therapy, there's kind of this unspoken rule that the issue is never the issue. The problem is never the problem. So when a client comes to a therapist and says, this is my problem, the therapist automatically knows that there's probably a lot more going on under the surface. And that this issue is just like kind of the trigger point, but the pain point is underneath here and needs to be kind of peeled back until you get to that real issue. So what's the real issue with you having the confidence that you want? Where does that projection of your feelings onto other people, where does that even come from? And that's what we're going to do tonight, is we're going to start to look at uncovering and becoming aware of what blocks you from confidence, what really does. Like we're going to dig deeper than just like the surface answers. Because while the surface answers are completely 100% valid, there's more to it. Because we're complex, right? We're not simple. If it was that easy, we'd have a fix and we'd all be done and we'd go home. But it's not that easy. It's hard, especially when there's multiple things, right? Like it'd be nice if there was just one obstacle. You're like, well, it's just this one thing. But typically, it's not. It's multiple things. So I want you to ask yourself a couple of questions. And if you can screenshot this and spend some time journaling later on some of these prompts, they're really thought-provoking and good ones to start kind of bringing some of that up into awareness. So what does confidence mean to me? Again, going back to that definition, what does it look like in your life? Have you ever felt confident before? If yes, when was the last time that you felt confident? If no, why not? Is it because the alignment that you have or the definition of confidence and the way that that shows up in your life isn't in alignment? Why is that absent in your life? What would confidence do for you? What would be different about your life if you felt confident? I love that question. It's one of my favorites. What have I opted out of because of a lack of confidence? So what have you missed out on? That's a big one, right? What have we missed out on? And what is that? What is missing out on things? What does that cost you? Spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically? What does it cost you to not show up confidently? All right. So we're going to take just a second, take a deep breath, and I want you to inhale mindfulness and exhale judgment and doubt. Because as we ask hard questions and we start to look at hard things, there often comes a rush of judgment about ourselves, about our past, about our story, about our beliefs, about our abilities. There comes a lot of doubt and judgment. And so I want you to, as you breathe, be mindful and just keep inhaling trust, mindfulness, presence. Be present with these. All right. So the very first step is awareness. Here we go. We're diving in. So if you've downloaded the Becoming Captivatingly Confident guide, you have all of these. So I'm going to skip past kind of the bigger text chunks and go straight to diving in and, again, providing that efficiency here. So the first part of awareness is uncovering the thinking and the behaviors that actively sabotage your ability to show up confidently for yourself. So think for just a second. Again, we're just kind of bringing up the awareness of the ways that you think and the things that you do that sabotage your ability to be confident. So right off the bat, I can think of procrastination is a behavior that most frequently causes that self-sabotage. We put things off and we'll just like, well, I'll get to that another day, or like, oh, I'm going to go do the dishes. The most common one that I see is like women, especially that work from home, going around and like doing other things, which granted, working from home is hard because your house is always a mess, or stay-at-home moms face this too. It's like you're trying to get something done, but then you're like walking through your house, putting stuff away. And you find yourself in a room of the house that you didn't even mean to be in, but you're just cleaning it because that's just what you do. That's a form of procrastination. Thinking patterns. The shoulds are a huge confidence blocker. Saying to yourself, I should be doing this, or I shouldn't do that, or I have to do this, or I can't have that. The shoulds are an incredibly big thinking confidence blocker that causes that self-sabotage. Desire deficiencies. So these are what happens when you've been living with those confidence blockers that just kind of push your confidence down, down, down. It also pushes your self-worth down, down, down. Your desires get put bottom of the barrel. What you want gets buried all underneath these thoughts and behaviors that you've developed over the years. And getting in touch with your desires is critical. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit too. Boldness breakers is another part of uncovering awareness of all the things. And these are people and things in your life that hold you back. And so these are people that can be really toxic or maybe subtly toxic. They just drain you. They can also be things. They can be food. Food can do this too. So understanding what are these things that confirm your negative beliefs. And it could be even a system of religion, circle of friends, groups. There's a lot of things out there. So in summary, for stage 1, we've got to become aware of what confidence blockers are. Because once you know what they are, then we can move through those. We can move past those. We can develop tools to deal with those. You got to understand what you want for yourself. What does confidence do for you? What does doing this work bring to your life? And understanding that you're worthy of it too. And becoming aware of boldness breakers so we can develop boundaries to keep you safe. Safety is huge. So these are just a few more ask yourself questions. So if you want to screenshot these as well, they're just some questions again to get you thinking about what would it be like to implement some of these into my life. And that leads us to stage 1, action step. So these are all journaling activities. I'm going to change that in the future, but for now they're all journaling because a lot of mindset is moving energy out of our body and getting it out, moving it outward. And by talking it out and writing it out, you can actually help to move that negative energy. So you create space for more positive energy. It's nuts. It actually, like, those feelings carry so much energy, and it's such a low vibration energy too. So your first action step is you're going to write down a list of perceived confidence blockers. So again, what was the top one that you had? And then dig deeper. Where did that come from? Who said that? So for me, it was going back to the shorts example. I was 12 and my aunt came into a room and said, "Oh, Kimmy, you can't wear shorts." And I was like, "Why not?" She's like, "Well, honey, you have spider veins and nobody wants to see that." Guys, I was 12. I was 12. That was a confidence blocker for me. But I didn't know that. All I knew is that I didn't want to wear shorts. And it took me work to figure out who said that. Where did that story come from that I can't wear shorts? So you have to kind of dig down and keep getting to the bottom of these. And as you do, so each action step has a pro tip. And so my pro tip for you on this one is to practice patience and kindness to yourself. Inhale patience, exhale kindness. Like, just keep it on a cycle. Because being aware of these can bring up a lot of uncomfortable feelings. And I want you to be kind with yourself as you question some things that you've been believing for a long time. So as you practice those steps in awareness, that leads us to number 2, which is acceptance, which is the hardest of all the steps. Because you're aware of all the things, and now you get to practice accepting them and figuring out what stays and what goes. So the first part is all about longing. And this kind of ties in with those desire deficiencies. But it means looking at your story and letting go of the things that don't serve you. And this is actually a grieving process because there are some things that you just have to let go of. And letting go takes courage and bravery and strength, which you have. But it can be hard to recall that when you're trying to do it, when you're trying to let go of the stories that you've been believing and uncovering what you really want. Because sometimes we haven't allowed ourselves to want anything, either because we put ourselves so low value-wise or because we have a lot of kids and our needs get pushed to the bottom. But calling those up and accepting the ones that you have lost and the dreams that you can have still. There we go. Adamant assertion. So a way to help with doing that is to create power statements. Have you ever used any adamant assertions before? Comment in the comments if you have or have not used affirmation statements, motivation statements, directives, I think in some parts of the world they're called, assertions. These are incredibly powerful. Do not underestimate the power of adamant assertions. So these are statements like the one that I'm using right now in my meditation practice is I expand to receive success, love, and abundance every day as I inspire those around me to do the same. Like that is my statement. That is my belief. And even if you don't believe your assertions, by speaking them, again, you're creating a new energy in yourself. And as you're opening up space for more energy, you can start to breathe these words into being and creating ones that go with what you want and what you want confidence to do for you. And these will come back at the end. I have a little something for you about adamant assertions at the end. But it's turning your can, literally like turning your cans into cans. Again, even if you don't believe it, you start saying it, you speak it into existence. And this is also to do with manifesting, which I'm still learning about that. And then we have your captivating potential. So this is where you start to uncover your own kind of confidence. And this is looking at the parts of you that make you you. And what is it that's holding those parts hostage? So looking at what shame are you carrying around parts of yourself that are amazing? Maybe for some reason someone told you once that you weren't enough. And so you carry that with you. No, it's not true. But what's holding that back? And how can you accept what someone said and return it to them so that you can be free from that and accept who you really are? A lot of becoming you is unlearning what you've been told about you. It's crazy. It's not so much even about picking things up as it is putting them down. So our summary for number 2 for acceptance is to practice seeing yourself differently and to accept the things that have happened to you, grieve the loss of things that are painful, stories that you've been told, traumas in your past, ways that you've been shaped, and creating powerful statements to move you through that acceptance process into, we're not there yet, action step. we'll get to number 3. Action step is that you are going to write down what you deeply desire. And this isn't for your family. This is for you. What do you want? What are those sacred longings that you want deep inside? And how can you let those come to the surface so that you can accept them? Because sometimes we don't want to dream because we think it's too much, that we're not worthy of such big dreams, but you are. And the pro tip, you are taught to play small and to take up less space emotionally. And I invite you to allow yourself to expand and to take up some room with your dreams and what you want. Which then leads us into step number 3, which is appreciation. And this is like, if we're looking at this process as kind of a mountain, awareness is sea level. That's the base. We're looking up. And then step 2, that acceptance, is kind of when we start to break a sweat as we're climbing. And appreciation is where we can see the summit. We're like, I see the top. I see it. It's coming. That's appreciation. And this is the time for you to really start to practice that as acceptance and turn it into appreciation. A lot of times people jump into like self-love, body love, like all the love. And I argue that might not be realistic for everyone. You may never love the body that you have. You may never love yourself fully, but you sure can appreciate yourself. You can, because there's so many amazing things about you. In my small groups that I run, we often use what I call the fulfillment formula. And this is a process of managing all your thoughts and beliefs and behaviors. And that makes it so that those changes stick. Because so often we are good for a little while and then we fall off. And a lot of this comes from knowing what you want. It goes back to that. What do you want? Because if you're trying to do something for somebody else, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And uncovering your personal brand of confidence. Confidence looks different for every single person, and it shows up differently depending on who you are, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert or an ambivert, whether you are a 9 or a 7 on the Enneagram. No matter where you fall, you have your own confidence inside of you, and it just takes peeling back those layers to uncover what it is that actually makes you you. And I use a lot of different personality tests in this section when I'm working with individuals and groups. We look at the Enneagram, we look at birth order, we look at family history, all the things that have made you you. And how do you want to show up confidently? And what do you want it to look like? And then you get to practice powerful presence. And this is where you get to silence the inner critic. It is really hard to stop negative thoughts. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever felt that? That it's far easier to be negative than it is to be positive? In appreciation, we flip the script on that. And you get to practice mindfulness in a way that gives you that presence. Because you know how it is. We see someone that is comfortable in their own skin and they're confident and they have a presence about them. And part of the way that they do that is by knowing who they are, what they want. And they also silence the inner critic. They don't even allow it. It's like when you are in speech class in high school and college, right? And they're talking about the inner critic in your head and how you have to literally silence that so that you can have your speech without all the negative feedback. That's what we practice, is silencing that. And again, identifying, where does it come from? Whose voice am I really hearing in my head? And yes, hearing voices in your head is totally okay, by the way. It's very normal. So in summary, we look at the fulfillment formula, which again is that process for staying on track. There's actually a legitimate formula for it. You also get to start uncovering your own brand of confidence. What does it look like to be you confidently? And how can you practice that so that you can silence the negative self-talk, especially when you're like, Melina, going back to your obstacle of what other people think? Huge part of this, of practicing that powerful presence and silencing the critic, is also silencing the voice of other people. Action step. Are you ready? We're going to name that inner critic. And you get to write down the top 5 negative or critical thoughts that you have about yourself. I'm sure you could even think of 1 or 2 right off the top of your head. Maybe you can think of all 5. Maybe you can think of more. And a good way to check yourself is to ask yourself, well, can I think of that many positive things about myself? I really hope you can. But I understand that if it's that sometimes it's easier to find the negative than the positive. So you can also use the transactional analysis theory. So next time you're at a party, be like, hey, so I was talking about you can drop this at a party. Pretty cool to have big words. But basically, it's a theory that's used in counseling that determines whether or not, kind of where your voice is coming from, because you have the parent, the child, and the adult all living inside your head. And the parent is the controlling, restrictive, protective, hovering one. That's the voice. Then you have the child voice, which is the demanding, selfish, instant gratification voice. Give it to me now. I want it now. That's mine. Most often that's mine. And then you have the adult that's trying to like balance the two and be like, okay, how can I take what this voice is saying and what this voice is saying and find out what's true for me? And you can kind of apply that technique when you're thinking about the inner critic. Does your parent voice have a name? Okay, before we go on, I just want to check in with you. How are we doing? Are we doing okay? Thumbs up, smiley faces. We're doing good. We're making good time. I'm excited. This is great. Check in the chat. Perfect. Okay, we're doing good. All right, step 4, value and investing. Perfect. Value and investing. This is the fun phase. So this is when you get to the top of the mountain and you're like, you can see all the things. You can see where you've come from. You can see what's ahead. And you can just take in this vista, this feeling of like, I have done so much work to get here. Holy cow. And you can start to practice compassion for yourself. Because as you look back at how high you've climbed and how hard you've worked, it can be really easy to beat yourself up and to slide back and to fall back into that comfort zone of feeling shameful. Yeah, right? Mountain. It's exactly what it's like. This is a terrible shaped mountain. Maybe it's like this. Depends on where you're at in your confidence journey. Your mountain can look different. When I started, mine was like this. It was real tall. That was many years ago, thankfully, but I'm still on it. We alternate. And it's not to say that this is a like linear process. I'm presenting it as a linear process, but there are going to be events in your life that put you back at square one. Not entirely though. Like as you walk through this process, it gets you so much further that when you have things that come up, because isn't this what happens? Like maybe you start a new diet and you're doing so good, right? You're doing so good. And then you get a huge bill or a kid gets sick or you get sick. And then all of a sudden you're derailed, right? And then it's like the cycle of shame happens and you're like, I can't believe I ruined it again. I slipped, I got off track. That doesn't happen with this process. So somebody gets sick or somebody passes away or someone gets in a car accident or something catastrophic happens. It doesn't set you, it doesn't set you back at square one. You can start there with a particular issue, but it doesn't take you all the way back. So you can go through the process with this new issue and arrive into that growth phase. It's really exciting. Okay, so practicing self-compassion, that is really hard to do in stages 1 and 2. It starts to happen in 3, but I really feel like it comes in 4. Because you cannot have compassion for something that you do not like. Am I right? So if you're still in stage 1 and you're like, I don't even like myself, how on earth are you going to practice self-compassion? You can't. That comes as one of the valuing parts of yourself and investing in yourself by giving yourself grace. That's an investment in you, giving yourself grace. Then you get to start cashing the checks. Checks in the mail. It's one of my favorite things. Good things are coming and you get to start cashing in on them. You get to start believing that you are worthy of good things. And this looks like when someone gives you a compliment, what do you automatically do when someone compliments you? If you want to put in the chat box, I'd love to hear what you do. Maybe you're already really good at this and you accept graciously and say, thank you, I received that. Foremost, it is a very quick dismissal. It's, oh no, that's not, I didn't know. Somebody says, well, you look nice today. Oh, well, actually my shirt kind of smells. I forgot deodorant. Like, you know, I actually look kind of frumpy. That's the worst when we tell people that they're wrong when they're complimenting us. Oh, it's the worst. But you get to practice that self-compassion and growth, and you get to say, I received that. Thank you. It's the craziest thing when you actually accept a compliment. The other person might be shocked, especially as women. Oh, we are the best at this. We are so good at brushing off compliments, but not you. Because by the time you've gotten to value investing, you're like, yeah, I am awesome, actually. Thanks. I received that. It's true. And then taking it one step further with silencing saboteurs. So we talked about the inner critic, and now we're kind of looking at external critics or people that drain our energies, people that are toxic, and developing boundaries. It is very, very hard to set a boundary for yourself around people, again, not against people, but for people when you are in stage 1, even 2. It is very hard to hold those boundaries. But when you have gotten this far in your journey, it is so much easier to practice setting boundaries with people. And it is incredible the freedom that comes when you give yourself the grace to protect yourself from people that impact you with their lower negative energy. And it's beneficial for you both, really. If you're in a relationship where your energy levels are not vibing, it's not good for either of you. And especially if somebody is just draining your energy and you're pretending like they're not, or you're just trying so hard because you want to be nice to this person, it doesn't serve either of you. So in summary, we're looking at practicing self-compassion, accepting compliments and actually believing them, allowing other people's adamant assertions and positivity in, and letting it take up space instead of squashing or rejecting it. And we're going to learn to do boundaries and silence the people that are actively sabotaging, maybe not on purpose, maybe on purpose, but sabotaging your ability to show up how you want in your life. For me, this looked like drawing a really strong boundary against my dad. I don't speak to my dad because he is toxic. And it's painful and it was hard, but it is a boundary that keeps me and my family safe from his negativity and narcissism. If you have someone that's a narcissist in your family, boundaries are critical. Critical. All right, action step for valuing and investing. You're going to make a list of things that make you worthy, because you are. You may not feel that right now, but you are. And it gets much, much easier the more you practice this. What God-given traits make you excellent? And think beyond physical. Like a lot of times we're like, well, I'm strong or I'm talented. Like think deeper. Like what are your gifts? What are your strengths? What has God given you that makes you amazing? And it's going to be really tempting and you're going to want to like hesitate on this. Well, I can't, there's like a block, right? A block against positivity about yourself. And, if it's hard at first, you can set yourself a timer just for 5 minutes. Just sit there and allow yourself to write down things about you that are amazing. And if amazing seems too far, start with good things about you and work your way up to the things that are excellent and awesome and worthy. And now we get to go down the other side of the mountain. Grab your sleds. It's going to be fun because you have arrived at growth. And this is the fun part. I love it. Growth is a great place. So you're going to practice your power every day, showing up the way you want to. And this can look like a meditation practice. It can look like implementing new habits, maybe journaling. If you're like, I'm not a journaler, well, maybe that's because you haven't done this work. And maybe you get to stage 5 and you're like, I think I'm a journaler. Kim's made me journal this whole time. Maybe there's something to this. You get to practice it. Maybe it looks like starting a new class. Like maybe you take a pottery class, something that makes you feel good. How can you show up the way you want to? And this is also the time and the space where if you want to get healthy or if you want to change the shape of your body, this is where you do it from. Not from back here in stage 1, but from here in stage 5. This is where the good stuff happens because you're doing it from a much different place, from a place of self-appreciation. You appreciate who you are and you appreciate your body and you move it and fuel it accordingly, which will look much different than how you do it in stage 1. And so we're going to shift your mindset around exercise. And instead of exercising or working out, you're going to move and find ways to move your body that feel really good versus like, I have to go to the gym because that's the way to be healthy and to lose weight. It's not. By the way, spoiler alert, it's not. It's not a good way to do it. Body, mind, nourishment. And then you get to work on viewing food as nourishment. Often we view food as punishment, reward, celebratory, comfort, but we don't often think of it as nourishment. And again, coming from that place of self acceptance and appreciation, you begin to view food differently. It loses its power and it becomes something that is enjoyable to you, that you pay attention to, that works with you rather than against you. Which, when you step into alignment with that, your body weight will follow. Your body will reach a set point that you don't have to strive for. And for some people, that isn't weight loss. People, that's maintaining. Some people, that may even be putting on a few pounds. But is it more fulfilling to struggle and to fight your body and to try to lose weight, or to accept, appreciate, and nourish? And that one takes a little while to wrap your mind around, especially if you grew up in a diet culture or diet mindset and you've been told that losing weight is like the best way to be awesome. That one can take some time to wrap your mind around. And I work with a lot of people on specifically just that aspect of moving from a diet mentality to a freedom mentality. And it can be a hard shift. So in summary, we're going to practice your power. You're going to find rituals. You're going to find ways of showing up in your life the way that you want to, that you can practice, that build that confidence up. You get to practice movement motivators instead of exercise, and change how you look at food and how that shows up in your life. Your action step is that you get to make a movement bucket list. It's so fun. So what you're going to do is you're going to divide a piece of paper into 3 columns. And the first column is going to be activities that you've tried and liked. You're like, oh, these are cool. The second column is activities that you have not tried, but that you think would be fun. So I think aerial yoga would be a hoot. I've done yoga. Aerial yoga would be incredible. And then the third column is for things that you would like to try, but that scare you. Pole dancing. Nope. I want to do pole dancing so bad, but I'm terrified of it. So that's in my third column. And by just going through and thinking through what you've done, and maybe even rediscovering something that you've done. I had one gal in my last small group who said that she used to dance. She doesn't dance anymore, but she remembers really loving it. So guess what she's going to do? Boop, it goes on her movement bucket list. Because again, we're not exercising, but we're finding exciting ways to move your body. And if you're stumped and you're like, I don't know what. I had one gal who could only come up with 3 things. You can check out Google. Zumba does that for you? Yes. Zumba. So fun. I love it. Do you wear like the pants with the tags too? That was super in like 8 or 9 years ago, like the Zumba gear. Yes. No, but I want some. They're amazing. They came out with really cute Zumba gear. You wear the shirts. I'm going to have to come take it with you. Love getting my dance on. So good. Right movement. Things to keep you active, help you build your confidence, challenge you, push you outside your comfort zone without the pressure and expectation and baggage of working out or exercising. Pro tip is to Google search activities that involve movement. Whoosh, you're going to find a ton. Okay, friends, you did it. You scaled the mountain. That's what it looks like. I'm so proud of you. I can't believe you made it. I can believe you made it, but I'm glad you stuck with it. So my gift to you is adamant assertions. So I have created this little PDF and it's going to be emailed to you tomorrow. And each step of the process, I have come up with a few different adamant assertions that you can start to practice, whether it's in your meditation. You can write them down on note cards or on sticky notes and post them around your bathroom mirror, or I have some in my fridge, like wherever you need the most encouragement, that's where you put these. Because these statements are so powerful, especially when you speak them. So it's one thing to think them, but another to speak them. Remember, these are energy. And so by speaking them, you're making space for positive things inside. It's amazing. Okay, so here's something that I want you to consider. Have you ever tried to implement a guide or a process before and you felt unsuccessful? You felt like you failed, which PS, I don't believe in failure. I think failure is giving up on life, and that is, I don't view anything else as failure. You can try different things and maybe they don't work, but it's definitely not a failure. I like the word unsuccessful. If you tried something where you feel unsuccessful, what caused it? What happened? Was it a lack of support, lack of community? We don't grow in isolation, and that's what makes doing programs by yourself so hard. It is so incredibly difficult to process information and then apply change. Even if that's your learning style, it's super hard because we get in our own ways and we self-sabotage. Making change where there is accountability and support and connection is so critical. That Me Too moment, have you ever had this moment with someone before where you're like, you share something really hard and really yucky and somebody else is like, oh my gosh, me too. And you're like, oh, that's why like the hashtag Me Too moment is so powerful and it's changing our society because there's that connecting moment. And that moment allows you to drop your defenses so that you can take in new information, so that you can start to be you without fearing all of the outside stimuli, the failure, the judgment. So we're going to do some quick little visualization because I love visualization. So I want you to close your eyes and imagine that you've learned how to implement this process in your own life. Imagine that you've climbed that mountain. You started at sea level. You broke a sweat. You were grunting. You were crying. You were sore. You were tired. You weren't sure you were going to make it to the top, but you did. You got to the top and you saw the vista. And you saw freedom and hope and compassion. And you felt it as you ran down the other side of the mountain. Or you could walk, either way. I'm a runner. I like to run. And you find that you feel confident. What could you say yes to after having that experience? Often we say no to a lot of things. And I'm curious, what could you say yes to with that freedom and that hope? What things in your life would be different? Having support is critical for making changes. It is so important to feel connected and supported. And I offer 2 different ways that you can get that support that you need to make it up and over that mountain. Because again, it is so hard to do by yourself. So hard. So I offer weekly coaching, which is an amazing way of getting the one-on-one support that you need. This is the fastest way to get results because you are working one-on-one. I also offer bi-weekly coaching. There it is. Which is a little bit slower approach. It's more staggered out. We meet for two sessions a month for 60 minutes, and we dive into you, your confidence blockers, your saboteurs, the whole 9 yards. And we work together to get you action steps that are perfectly tailored for you. And I create a space for you where you can start to peel back the layers that have covered up your confidence. It's super fun. I also offer a small group, which I actually just announced it this morning. I'm doing a little bit different. This slide is a little bit outdated, but it's a class called Becoming You. And we're going to have 6 weeks where we're going through nutrition, movement, time, health, and of course, you and understanding you and really taking a lot of that awareness and acceptance phase and cramming it into 1 week. It's a lot, but it's going to be good. So that's a 6 week program that I offer. This one says 8 week, but the new one is 6 weeks. So I invite you to invest in yourself and your desires. It is an investment in you, which can be hard to do because you don't feel necessarily worthy of investing time and money into yourself, especially money, right? That's a huge confidence blocker for a lot of us. And I invite you to do that. And if it's something that you feel like, you know what, this makes a lot of sense and I do want that, then let's talk about it. Let's just talk. You don't have to buy something right now. Like, let's talk about it. Let's figure out what you want, what's working and what's not, and how I can help. So I do a free clarity call for anyone that's interested. And you can see the link down there, captivatinglyconfident.com/clarity call. And it'll be as long as we need it to be to figure out what the best step for you can be. And by investing in yourself and signing up for a coaching option, my date is wrong on there as well because it's February, not January. You get special pricing just for attending this class. So I do 10% off for any group attendees that attend the live class. And if you're not ready, if this isn't the right time for you, then I honor that and I respect it. I do want you to get plugged in though. I want you to have that connection with other women who are on the same journey. So, some ways that you can get involved. You can join the Captivatingly Confident community on Facebook. Just type that into the search bar, it'll pop right up. You can subscribe to the Captivatingly Confident podcast. That's over on iTunes and Stitcher. It's also on Spotify and iHeartRadio. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. You can follow me on Instagram at kim.ludeman. I recently partnered with Beauty Counter. So excited. So there's going to be some posts about that too. Ways to find confidence in what you put on your body. Amazing. And I think you're already signed up for the email list if you're here. So, okay, friends, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time and space away from your families and spending your evening with me. This is an incredible honor, and I just feel so humbled and blessed to even share space with you in this way. It is amazing. And now, if you have any questions, maybe I've stepped ahead of myself and answered them all.